Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network invite you to discover your mission, a brand new in-depth monthly video series featuring engaging Catholic speakers who will challenge you to live your life abundantly. For only $25 a month, you will receive a personal monthly mission, including 3 full-length inspirational talks that build upon a new theme each month. Sign up for the Discover Your Mission tier at patreon.com/patchworkheartministry today.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Hi, welcome to Journeys in Faith on this Friday evening. It's so great to be here, as it always is, because I have amazing guests on this evening. I have Kathleen and Shawn Tobin. They are from the greater Philadelphia area, and they're the founders of Catholic Beads and More. So I invite you, if you're watching right now and you got your phone right there in front of you, you want to check out their website at Catholic Beads and More. Now, Catholic is spelled with a K, and it's exactly what the name says. It is truly more than just beads, as you see on the screen right there with the beautiful rosaries, bracelets, necklaces, all the different religious items. So Kathleen and Shawn, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday evening.
Thank you, Anne. It's great to be here
with you, Anne. Thank you for having me.
I was especially excited to host the two of you because admittedly, I will tell our viewers and our listeners on the podcast that you two are friends of mine. And we don't live very far from each other, and we see each other often at different Catholic conferences, since I'm also the director for a foundation, and we see each other with our exhibitor tables at some of these events. So isn't it fun that we get to share faith on this Friday evening with our friends?
Exactly.
Very much so.
It really is. So as we start this program, I wondered if we could just start out with your truly incredible faith story. And when I got to know the two of you, when I learned more about you, there was just so much to learn about the journey that you both have been on. You know, this show is called Journeys in Faith. And so I thought we could spend our first half of this show. This is a 1-hour video and also podcast. The first half of the show, learning about your faith journey.
Sure, thank you.
You can start.
Okay. So basically, I'm a cradle Catholic, and oldest of 4. My family grew up in a great family in New Jersey, actually. And when I was out of college, actually when I was in college, my father was in a very serious car accident and kind of shook our faith really badly. So right when I graduated from college, we went on a pilgrimage, and instead of, we were praying actually for my dad to be healed. He became a quadriplegic from the car accident. But instead, our whole family actually received a really great grace. And at a really perfect time in my life, I was just beginning my career as a physical therapist. I was able to make a new beginning even with my faith. You know, I was always Catholic, but, you know, sometimes you kind of, when you're a teenager, make a couple of choices that, you know, you look back and you think, oh, you know better, you know. So we went on a pilgrimage, and I came back, and it really changed my, I grew deeper in my faith, and it was a gradual change, you know, but I started going, you know, to adoration and to daily mass eventually while I was working. and went on a lot of different pilgrimages too. And in my journey, I was trying to discern my vocation in life, and I actually became a religious sister at a certain point. So it was God writes straight with crooked lines, and obviously I'm not a sister right now. I'm married to Shawn, but he took me through a really, I guess, kind of a really amazing journey in just discernment and growing deeper in my faith, and becoming a religious, and then all the different things that I learned even there. And then things happened with the order, and it eventually was disbanded, but I left and returned to lay life. And when I did, shortly after that, I met Shawn about, I guess, maybe a year after I left religious life. And we've been married now almost 6 years. So it's been an amazing journey, and there's been a lot in between that. But that's kind of like a really short synopsis of my journey. Kind of going deeper in my faith, and like I guess a reversion in a sense, if you want to say. So, and then Shawn has a really neat story too.
Yeah, love to hear. Love to hear.
Yeah, so basically I was baptized Catholic, and I wasn't brought up with any faith, and basically throughout my life there was always people that would come to me with the faith. When I was a young kid, one of my best friends, Jeff, he was non-denominational, and I went to like his meetings with him and went to his sports events and all those things. So basically I didn't really understand that. My father had a conversion when he was 33 back to his Catholic faith. He wanted me and my brother to go to CCD, but my parents were separated. And so I tried starting to read the Bible. I was somewhere between the ages of 10 and 12. It didn't make any sense to me. It didn't really make any sense to me. It didn't really touch me. And then basically things happened in my family, and unfortunately I didn't get to see my father for a long time. But as I was going through college and everything, there's always one more person that would come up, and a good friend of mine, Matt, he was Russian Orthodox. We would always talk about God, and he was great because he would listen and not try and like convert me, and basically he was like just a really great example of like a good Christian witness to teaching people about the faith. But I didn't really accept Christ until I came out of college. Young lady wrote me a letter that I knew, and basically when I read the letter, it said, Christ is my savior, he died for my sins. And when I read it, I got like this cold chill of my whole body, and basically boom, that's when like the whole story started changing and moving forward. And then basically I became friends with all these people that were Protestants, Mennonites, Baptists. And finally, when one of my friends, Tim, wanted to go to an Orthodox church, an informational night for a Russian Orthodox church, and so we went and checked it out. We went to the meeting, and then that's when I knew like I needed to become Catholic, to actually go back. So I went to RCIA and became fully Catholic. So it just made perfect sense. The first split was from the Catholic to the Orthodox, and everything was so close. It just made sense, because when I came to know Christ personally, that was beautiful and it was wonderful, but it didn't make any sense to me that all these different denominations, there was so many different Christian denominations. It didn't make any sense with the scriptures and about Jesus wanting us to be one. So that's when I became Catholic in '99, actually, and I was so enthusiastic to get into the faith. They cut my RCI in half, like I actually did only 6 months, but in the end, that actually was good and bad for me, because I didn't learn all the tenets of the faith, but it was great that I could get in there and, be able to be with Jesus and Holy Communion and participate in all the sacraments. But it's still so many years later, we're always learning about the faith. So that's a quick synopsis of my journey to becoming Catholic.
Yeah, you both have a really and truly incredible story, because although you both had different pathways in the very beginning of your lives, and Kathleen was even a religious sister, And if I'm not incorrect here, or Shawn, I think you were also in seminary at some point.
No, actually, I was going
Right?
through discernment because I was, to be
Discernment.
honest,
Okay.
I was getting I was getting very mad at God because we got married in our mid 40s, and I was, unfortunately, I had a heart attack at a young age at 40. And then I was like, okay, God, all these years you've been telling me you're going to be married, Shawn. I want, you're called to be married. I'm like, well, I'm getting old, and I was just like, I had a heart attack. Who's gonna want to marry someone who just had a heart attack at 40? I had just, after I had my heart attack, I moved into a new apartment, and basically, I just remember being so frustrated with God. I'm like, I would be praying, like, can I go out on a date with this woman? And it'd be like, no. Like, when I pray, I get like this feeling of no. And that went on like for 4 years. And then basically 1 month before I met Kathleen, I went on this retreat to Oceanside, California. And it's the Prince of Peace Monastery. And I met this great priest, Father Gary. And I thought he was a regular Joe. Like, I didn't know he was a priest when I started talking to him. And basically, he told me all that matters is you give up your life every day. This is the words that he said to me. I know this isn't for everyone, but he said these words to me. He said, all that matters is every day you give yourself up as a victim suffering to God. And when he said that, I felt peace. And then literally within a month, my friend Anthony is like, oh, we have this person we want you to meet. Like, I wasn't so after I went there, I felt this great peace about life, and after what Father Gary said to me, and literally within a month I met, well, basically within 2 months we had met and then started talking.
Because we met through common friends, actually, like friends of the family. So it's pretty neat. We actually, when we got in contact first, one said, hey, do you mind if we give your number to a friend of ours? And then I guess they told Shawn, and so it took us weeks. Like, I thought he was. They
were trying a double date,
but
that didn't work out.
And it was funny because we met over the phone, so we actually had never seen each other for 2 weeks before we met. So it was really funny because we were playing phone tag at the very beginning. The first one, he called me. I saw his name because I had to put his number in. I don't pick it up if I don't know the number. It's all spam. So I saw his number on there, and I was in a prayer group, and I thought, well, I can't pick it up. So I called him the next day. Then the next day went by, the next day I had to leave a message. I thought, well, I don't know. The guy says no loss, really. But I thought, gosh, what message did I leave on there, So afterward, he called back like a week later, and then we talked, like, we hit it off right away. We talked for like 2 hours, I think, on the first phone call, yeah. And then after that, we talked for 2 weeks because I went to my brother's in Colorado because I was just kind of trying to get over, like, I had left the order months before that, and I was kind of just trying to re-enter into basically lay life because I'd worn a full habit. I was still trying to like match my clothes, because I was in for a long time. So my brother was really sweet. He let me go out and visit with him for a little bit. And so I took Shawn on hikes with me on the phone. I'd go hiking up in the mountains when my brother was at work and take a picture for Shawn. And we still hadn't met each other yet, so we had no idea what we looked like or anything, just our voices.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and I didn't have a picture, so I was like, I'm not going to send a picture of me either, because, so we met each other like kind of like almost like a blind date, I guess, because
except for we knew each other.
We knew each other, yeah.
Because we talked to each other almost every day. Well, I think every day for 2 weeks.
Yeah, every day, yeah. Together. And it was neat, like we fell in love on the phone.
And I didn't blow her off. See, actually, I never actually got her phone call back. And I was thinking the same thing. It was a weird thing with my phone, but I was like, well, Anthony was like, okay, she's a good woman and things like that. So I wasn't like nervous or anything like that, but I was like, I wonder why she didn't call me back. Well, what happened, something happened with the phone system, but literally probably like 6 days after I called her, I went to go to adoration. And as soon as I came out of adoration, there was a phone call from my father and a phone call from her. So, and I called her back, and then like she said, we talked for like 2.5 hours straight.
Yeah.
Wow.
we never stopped talking, and
ever since then.
It's incredible, because I know that the two of you, first of all, you both have a very deep faith. And what happened with your religious order, Kathleen, was that it folded. And, you know, there were some issues there with the leadership that you and I had talked about. And the one reason that you and I had connected was that we were talking about how sometimes within the church, you know, we have the beautiful teachings of the church, we have the beautiful doctrines and Holy Scripture, and all of the wonderful parts of our faith. But sometimes there's also fallen individuals. And I know that that's kind of where you and I had connected, was that just that understanding that sometimes within the church that there are, you know, people who are consecrated or, you know, secular priests who are not really, you know, close to Christ in that way. And I know that we had connected on that level. But God led you on a path that, although that religious order had folded and there was a lot of pain for you, I know that. I wondered if you wanted to speak to our listeners about that, because God led you on a path that you had no idea
Right.
where it was leading when that happened.
Right. When this all happened, yeah, it's a really long story, but it was a very difficult journey. Even with my discernment in religious life, shortly after I'd entered, I was actually sent over already to Europe. So as I was discerning my vocation, I was also learning Italian. I was learning the culture. I was learning the apostolate. I was cooking for 30 people in Rome. It was just basically trying to survive day after day. So it didn't even give an opportunity for proper discernment. And there were a lot of issues, lots of red flags, but being a new order, you know, you think, oh, well, I'm just going to basically suck it up, you know, and I'm just going to trust, you know, that this is the right thing. We didn't have spiritual directors. I mean, there were a lot of red flags, but not being connected, being constantly trying to survive, you know, and make it through the day almost, you know, you really don't even have time to process stuff. So that led to years and years. I was in for 18 years. And basically in 2008, the order basically I'd say imploded, but really all the things kind of came out, you know, because we got a new Mother General after 25 years. And a lot of things that we didn't know about were revealed. And I was already final vows. And I thought, well, you know, like you make a promise for life, it's a promise for life. But after a lot of things happened from 2008 until about 2010 or 11, I guess, I was actually superior at the time in this state, and I helped the people that needed to be helped over on this end. Our superior was a commissioner in Rome and from another order, and she only spoke Italian, so I was kind of like a liaison, really, kind of a connection because I spoke Italian to the sisters in America. And it was very, very difficult. It was overwhelming, actually, and I almost lost my own faith, I have to say, and I almost lost my own faith, and it was shook me to my core. But one of the sisters, a really holy sister who just passed recently, she had said, she's like, you know, when there's an old story about a man who has a farm, and he has a tree farm, and he plants the young trees, and when he plants them, he would go by and he would hit them every day. And the neighbors would be like, why is this man hitting his trees? And then afterwards, they learned that he hit the trees because it made the roots go deeper into the soil. And so I thought about that story as all these things is basically like getting hit, like having someone hit the trees. And it forced me, you know, to have my roots go deep, because superficially I was like, I'm out of here. I'm thinking, should I become Byzantine Catholic? And I'm still a sister at this point thinking these things. And I'm thinking, you know what? Everything is human beings, you know, consecrated lay people. So this is all human beings. And, you know, that's why we promote praying for priests and religious, which we'll talk about later. But, you know, I was a physical therapist from New Jersey working over in the Vatican, for example. And I'm thinking, oh my, like, I can't believe this is my life, you know? But you're regular people that God calls to a special mission and consecrates you. So you have extra graces. And I had the grace to make it through basically the turmoil that I went through. And thank God I didn't lose my faith. It's only by God's grace, because on my own, I was like, gosh, it wasn't make it day by day. It was to make it minute by minute. And I did. Here I am, still alive, still Catholic. But it really made me, because one day my superior, who wasn't my superior at the time, she was previously, and it was actually the founder, she said, tell her to go to the chapel and pray to know the truth. And I said, I don't have to listen to her, she's my superior. But I went in the chapel and I said, all right, Jesus, you are the way, the truth, and the life, and I follow you. My focus is on you. My aim is to you, and that's it. And looking to him, it helped to make clarity out of all the confusion, because the devil brings confusion, distraction, all those crazy things. Because I had to guide the sisters. I'm like, all this craziness, how do you see the truth and the light through all the dust and all the storm going on? And if you just, and the Blessed Mother, we were consecrated to Mary, and I still always am. She keeps us focused on the light, you know, and she keeps us on track. And no matter what, she'll help us to find the truth. And it was in Jesus. And here we are, still Jesus, still Catholic, you know.
Well, you know, your story always touches on my heart, because I remember that first connection that we had. And, you know, I had shared my own personal story that I understood that, not to get into the long of it there, but that sometimes within the church, you know, this is where we need a lot of prayer, you know, because we're all called to follow our faith. We are all called to follow our vocation, whether we are married, single, or, you know, religious, priest, sister, whoever you are. We're called to follow that, and following that means we follow Christ. But unfortunately, in your situation, you found that, you know, your order had folded, and then you were sort of left with, what do I do with the rest of my life? And there were some very, very challenging parts of that for you, because you look up to the sky and say, Lord, what do I do now? What do I do?
Exactly.
I don't know what to do. But God had much greater plans. And if you look over to your left, you know, that was your plan and your vocation, right? And that was what God had in mind, because God has used the two of you to really bring the light of Christ. So although your original plans didn't work out with those vocations, you know, God brought the two of you together. And I have no doubt in my mind that that was all for the good, because he had so many wonderful plans for you to evangelize. And that's part of what we're going to discuss during the show. So did you have any other words about your faith journey? Because on this half of the show, we wanted to really focus on, you know, what happened and how you guys got together, because that's a beautiful story.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot, but I think God has a sense of humor, so to go for that one, because when I proposed to Kathleen, her mother was like, her mother was like not 100% sure about everything, and basically she's like, she went and she was asking for a sign from God for a deer at her husband's grave who had died. Well, you know, she went to the grave because I was going to propose to Kathleen, and basically it was pouring down rain, but there wasn't, so she didn't see a deer, but we knew nothing about this. And we had gone, I proposed to her at the Adoration Chapel. She had said yes. We came back to thank her father at the grave. And literally, as we're pulling up to the grave, the rain had stopped. And no joke, there's a deer at the gravesite.
At my dad's grave, yeah.
So
we're like, oh.
I'm like, that deer is for us. I had no idea. So we went back. We told her mom, you know, we showed her the ring. We told her what happened. And then about a couple hours later, she's like, she told us the story.
Yeah, you know, I asked her dad for a sign. You know, if you two are really meant to get married, you know, to have a deer show. She didn't see it, but we did. So God, he used us to tell my mom. Telling you about the deer.
We had no idea.
Oh. Now, I hope that you guys are working on a book or something, because
I actually did. I wrote one, actually. I just finished it.
Okay. Is it going to be published?
I don't know.
That's the plan,
That's the plan, but I literally, it's super.
Okay. Well, let's talk, because I know a woman who might be able to help you with that, especially
Okay,
in
thank
the
you.
Catholic world. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I love that story. That's beautiful. I'm glad we got it on video too on this evening. So, yeah, you just have a beautiful story. And although there were a lot of crosses, I mean, you learned firsthand that just because someone is a religious or, priest or whoever, that it doesn't mean that they're not, they
Human.
human. That's the right word, right? They're not, they are human,
You have to
and
forgive.
that things happen.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry what you had to go through. And I'm sorry that that religious order did fold. But God had other plans for you, and
Yeah.
how beautiful
Yes,
that you've met and have such a mission. Now, I'd like to invite our listeners and our viewers also to go to your website. It's called Catholic Beads and More. Catholic is spelled with a K. And it's just what the title says. I said at the beginning that it truly is more than just rosaries, bracelets, and necklaces. There's a lot there. And I know that Kent, our producer, is putting it up there for you right now on the screen. I would like to invite all of you too, that if you need to get any type of gifts for someone, or if you you yourself would like to get a beautiful piece of jewelry that has a miraculous medal or a cross, Catholic symbol there, this is the place to go, is Catholic Beads and More. And you know what? The prices are great. I have to say to you guys, they're not super duper like high price, but they're uber high quality. I mean, they make these pieces of jewelry. That's the beauty of it. I know that the last holiday season that came, I bought a bunch of things from you guys, and that was so awesome. And everybody that I gave those gifts to, they all loved it.
Oh, God, that's awesome.
They all loved it. So, yeah.
Somebody that buys our stuff too and is part of our ministry. So as we make the bracelets, we pray for them, and we pray sometimes over them after they're done if we don't do it while we're making them. But yeah, so it's more like it's a mission and a craft at the same time too. And my mom helps make them, and also Shawn's mom, who's not even Catholic.
She was, but now she was helping make
Oh, wow.
arthritis got bad, so now she can't help, unfortunately. But yeah, that was great. So pray for Nancy. She's my mother.
Okay, we will pray. Please, to our viewers, please pray for Nancy, his mother. And I know to pray for your mom too, Kathleen. I know she's going through some challenges. I say hi to both of them if they're watching. Hello, everyone. Hi, Kathleen and Shawn's friends. So they're my friends too, and I'm so happy to have them here on this evening. So now we do have to take a short break. But when we come back, we talked about your personal story on this half. For the second half, I would love for our viewers to learn more about your mission and all the great things that you're doing in addition to Catholic Beads and More. So join us in just a few minutes here on Journeys in Faith. Hi, my name is Anne DeSantis, and I'm the director for the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. You can learn about us on our website at nonatus.org. I'm here to tell you today about two great podcasts that I hope that you will tune in. The first Tuesday of every month at 8 o'clock, we have a podcast specifically for Catholics affected by divorce. From 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, go to Philly Nonatus on YouTube to subscribe. In addition, we also have a podcast the last Thursday of every month. That's also at 8 o'clock Eastern Time for 1 hour. And that one is for families in crisis. We have some really great guests coming up soon, so hope to see you then. Please also consider the fact that you can make spiritual direction appointments with us with our spiritual moderator. All you need to do is go to our website on the contact form and just reach out to us. We'd be happy to hear from you and look forward to setting up an appointment. So we'd love to connect with you. Please share this video and let people know that we're there for families affected by divorce and also families in crisis. Thank you.
Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network present the Discover Your Mission series.
I can't even share with you how I was so rooted in my faith. And I was attending Mass, but I was not present. I was a good man, I was a good father, I was instilling the sacraments into my family. I was definitely not intentional. I was stuck rooted in my faith.
I did not want to become Catholic. I came into the church kicking and screaming. I even left for a period because I was like, I can't. All my plans that I had are gone now. So I tried to go back, only to come back later on ultimately because of the Eucharist.
But what kind of strength did he have? Jackie did not just have a strength of body or baseball skill. He had a strength inside of his spirit, a courageous meekness that empowered him to play the game.
My husband comes home from work and I tell him what is going on with me and he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, I think this is like some sort of miracle, dude. And he's like, oh, of course, but I'll believe it when I see it. Honey, you've been trying to quit. You've been saying this and saying that. And his big line to me is, you shouldn't say things because I never follow through on them. And so this was week after week, month after month. He is looking at me like, this is a miracle. There is no way that you, on your own, could have done this.
In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 16 through 21, St. Paul compares the sacrifice of the Christians to the sacrifice of Israel and then to the sacrifice of the pagans. Paul calls the chalice the blood of Christ, and the bread as participation in the body of Christ, and then warns his listeners that you cannot partake of the table of the Lord and the table of demons at the same time. So in other words, you need to decide, what are you going to participate in? Are you going to participate in the historic Christian idea of the altar of sacrifice, which is in the Eucharist, or not?
Hello, welcome back to Journeys in Faith on this Friday evening with my friends and my wonderful guests, Kathleen and Shawn Tobin. They're from the greater Philadelphia area, where I'm from too. And they are the founders of a beautiful business called Catholic Beads and More. And I believe it is a nonprofit too.
No.
It is. Okay. I wasn't sure about that. So, but you know what? If you need, honestly, as I said before the break, Catholic items, whether they be rosaries, bracelets, necklaces, this is where you want to go online to get it. And Catholic is spelled with a K. So it's Catholic Beads and more.com. And I myself have bought beautiful things from Kathleen and Shawn, as I mentioned before the break. And everybody's loved it. And it enriches our faith, because I know you put love into all that you both do, everything that you make. So I thought maybe we could start out with, before we get into some of the other mission work that you do, because you know what? It's more than just beads, right? But I thought we could talk about the beading and the work that you do for people who might be interested in getting some gifts or buying something for themselves. And tell us what's on the website.
Okay, sure. We've been doing this, I guess, since 2017. So about maybe almost, 3 years now. We've been, this summer, 3 years. And we started it basically, I just love crafts. So it started out as me making a craft. And we went to Canada on a pilgrimage.
Our Lady of Montreal.
Yeah, and in the gift shop, we found
little rosary bracelet.
Yeah, it was made of hematite, and it was wrapped. It was a bracelet, a rosary around the wrist, and I've never seen that. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing. So I got one for me and for my niece, and then we were praying with it one day, and I thought, gosh, I wonder if I can make this. And then that was the beginning of the end. So
she started making
colors and different things,
and friends, and then basically transitioned into Catholic Beads and More.
Exactly. And then the rosary bracelets turned into full rosaries and chaplets and bangles. And so
it goes back to, like she said before, when she was a sister, that she was consecrated to Our Lady as part of the Franciscan order that she was in. And so, that's one of the missions of Catholic Beads and More, is to spread devotion to Our Lady and to get out as many miraculous medals as possible.
Exactly, and spread about the Rosary, Divine Mercy Chaplet, because we make chaplets too, and that's part of our own our own spirituality. We try and pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet and the Rosary every day, and then we also pray for people in our ministry too. So it's a company. Well, it started as a company because Shawn said, well, you need to sell these now. We can't keep all these rosaries in our house. So we made a company.
Actually, we went together and trying to mold our two different visions for it, like where we were going forward. So, my heart was like on fire to serve the Lord in some other ways. And she was like still really in pain from all of this stuff she went through as a sister.
Right.
So like anything related to the church for her at the time was like utter agony. So basically, this was like kind of like at least a starting point for us that we can be together, because it was just too painful for her, because the religious, because the church had been wrong, and the things that they did, really pierced her soul and destroyed a lot of other women's lives, unfortunately. So that's why we try and actually encourage. And then on Sister Lucia de Santos, we have a prayer group on Sister Lucia de Santos prayer group on Facebook,
on our page, right?
A page that people can go to and ask to sign up. And we're trying to pray for priests every day. We started to put 2 or 3 priests from the Archdiocese of Philadelphia so they can be prayed for by name by anyone that's on the prayer group, and we do that also. And then also we found out, when you were talking earlier, when we went to all these men's and women's retreats,
conferences, right?
Yeah, all the conferences, is that when I would ask people, are you praying for priests every day? Surprisingly enough, these people that are like the tip of the spear in the Catholic Church were almost always saying no.
Oh,
and wow. Going to Mass all the time.
This is people going to Mass regularly. Right. This is people going to conferences, for, a day or weekend or regular, throughout the whole year. You know how it is. We're going to lots of conferences.
We meet up with you all the time, exactly.
I was in shock. I'm like, I can't believe this. All these people are still not praying for priests every day, even after all the scandal and all these things. So that's why we kind of started Sister Lucia de Santos prayer group on Facebook, trying to get the word out there, just to remind people in a simple, loving way. It just takes a minute, but like my great example is 2 examples. Is when I went to Iraq, I was in the Army Reserves for 17 years before I got medically discharged. I felt a lot of peace, and the reason why I believe I felt a lot of peace is because people like you, Anne, and the millions of Americans, Christians, Catholics, that were praying for all our soldiers, that brought so much peace to our soldiers. I'm not like this normally super courageous guy that's like the first one, So anyway, prayer makes a difference. And you think about it, priests and religious are almost like the military in our culture.
Lines, exactly.
They're on the front
absolutely.
Lines. They're a super small percentage of the population. And in the church, there's millions and millions and millions of more lay people than there are religious and priests. Right? So if we don't pray for them every day, they are missing out on so much grace that a strength is just going to be taken away from them because we're not fulfilling our love, our obligation of love for them. And so that's what we're just trying to encourage people to pray every day. I mean, ideally the Rosary of Divine Mercy, but even if you just say a simple prayer for the priest by name, it's gonna help them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I think you both know that I actually represent a religious order with a foundation that I work for, the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation. In fact, the commercial that we watched during this show had to do with the work that I do. It's nonatus.org if you want to check out our website. It's the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation, and I represent the Mercedarian Order, headquartered in Philadelphia. So I invite people who are watching or listening to pray for the Mercedarians. They've been guests on this show multiple times, and also on my Sowing Hope podcast with my co-host, Bill Snyder, who I think you guys are also scheduled to be guests. Wait a minute, you already were guests on that show. I'm sorry, you were guests already on Sowing Hope. So yeah, time goes by so fast, but please do pray for all the religious and priests and people who are consecrated, because they really need it. And you know what? They need it right now, because this pandemic has been very hard for them, and they've been working like double duty. So they really do need your prayers just to be able to have that stamina, you know, to do all that they need to do and to serve the people, despite the fact that there's all these like rules and regulations with mass and everything else. So I commend you both. Now, I want to invite you listeners also, and your viewers, to go to that Facebook site that they were talking about. It's Saint Lucia
Sister Lucia DeSantis.
Lucia DeSantos.
She's one of the Fatima seers.
Yeah, she's one of the Fatima children.
One of the Fatima children. So again, go to Facebook. Now, is it ST period or SAINT on the Facebook site?
I think it's sister, actually.
Yeah,
sister.
it's the full word. Sister.
Oh, sister. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I think-
sister.
It's written out, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's written out, sister.
Okay. I want to
Sister.
make sure that they get that right. And I would invite people that if you missed that, you can get in touch with A DeSantis at patchworkheart.org. That's my my email address for Patchwork Heart for, you know, this ministry here, because Fiat Ministry Network is working together with Patchwork Heart Ministry. So it's not only this TV show and all the wonderful shows here, right here on this network, but also Patchwork Heart Ministry. And I invite everybody also to like this page too. So those who are watching, to like Fiat Ministry Network and subscribe to Patchwork Heart Ministry. So just a side note there. But just to get back on track then with all that you're doing. Now, I know that the two of you also have a ministry for those who have experienced miscarriages and those who have been affected by abortions too, through the Rachel's Vineyard retreats. I wondered if you could share on that.
Yeah, we participated in one, because when we were our first year of marriage, we got pregnant and I lost the baby, and so we had a miscarriage, and that's our only child that we had. So it really affected, well,
our little baby Shawn William and
exactly, and it really affected us.
It was very,
terribly,
very, very hard. Yeah.
So, and we never had another child since then. So a priest friend of ours up at the Divine Mercy Shrine, he's the rector, we were visiting him, and they had just put up the Shrine of the Holy Innocents up there. And he took us in to show us. They weren't done with it yet at the time. And it really touched our heart. We both started crying, actually, because there's little teeny footprints on the floor leading in.
Yeah.
And it made us think of, oh my gosh, our baby that we lost, and he would have had these little teeny feet. And so it really kind of opened up the wound and showed us how deep it really was. And
yeah, we had no idea how much our hearts were broken about not being able to have, you know, a child, and then losing our baby Shawn William by miscarriage.
So he said, you know, why don't you consider going to a Rachel's Vineyard retreat? And I'd heard of Rachel's Vineyard retreats, you know, for many years, but as far as I'd known, it was for people who had lost their babies with abortion. And I said, you know, well, Father, we had a miscarriage, and I didn't feel that it was for us to go to it. I didn't know it was open to any loss of a child. And he said, anyone who's had a pregnancy loss in any way, whether it be your own baby or a sibling, a grandchild, anything, that you're welcome to come to mourn the loss of the baby. So we went through that, and we were able to see from our end of having lost our baby to a miscarriage. And one of the ladies in the team had also, to the other members of the team, they have a psychologist or a counselor, I think, and a priest, and then you have the sacraments. And it's interdenominational. You don't have to be a Catholic to go. You could be any religion, but it's geared if everyone on the retreat is Catholic, to be Catholic and Christian, but you don't have to be to go on it. And it's very, very healing, because that particular moment in your life isn't alone. Like, there's a lot that led up to it, and then there's a lot that came after it, and what they do is they walk you through what happened, the day of the loss of the baby, and then they also help you work through different aspects of your life prior to that, and then also dealing up to the present. And it was very, very healing. And to make the journey with the other women who had miscarriages and abortions, we cried for 3 days, because you're making that journey with them. And I mean, my gosh, you become family. They're strangers when you go in on Friday, and you see the transformation. Like, one lady hasn't slept in 25 years, and I was like, oh my God. And so you're crying with them, you're crying for them, you're crying at your own loss, but it's a beautiful, healing, nurturing. It's so loving. Like, from the food that they make for you, the homemade food, and the in between, you got all the kinds of candies and goodies and stuff to snack on, and they just try to make it as loving in every possible way. Singing before meals, like, I don't want to break all the, the surprise of going, but it's so wonderful.
Wonderful. It's not our ministry, so Rachel's Vineyard.
We went to it.
Okay, it's beautiful ministry. What we try and do is inform people that that they can go to these things even if they had a miscarriage, if they're a grandparent or they're in pain over their grandchild that they lost, et cetera, et cetera. And also, the other thing that we try and do is that, because I realized I had been praying against abortion for 15, 20 years, even before I was Catholic, and praying Divine Mercy Chaplet against abortion, but I never once ever had prayed for a man or woman to be healed after losing their baby or after having an abortion. So it's just,
wow.
So that's what we try and promote people to think about and do, as part of our ministry, because, because through our loss, we actually experience all these other people's pain, which we would have never been able to experience any other way.
And they were transformed.
Yeah, they were transformed from their pain, and so were we, because we could finally actually start to talk about our loss together. Before that, it's typical, my personality, and probably a lot of men's personalities is, you focus on the good. What the church teaches, your baby died, your baby is in heaven, because God's a merciful God. So you focus on that, but you never actually look at yourself and everything that you desired and everything you wanted, and that Kathleen wanted, us wanting to have our own biological child, to be parents. So all these pains were like so deep inside of us. And then finally, when we went to the Rachel's Vineyard weekend, we were able to start to actually talk about it and work through things. And now we'll ask Sean William, our little baby, and have him to pray for us. So we're able to open up more and more and be more free of, that the pain isn't completely gone. We can't tell you that. I don't think it'll ever be gone, because we wanted to be children, but we wanted to have children. We wanted to be parents, but if it's not God's will for our lives, then we can't force it. So we have to continue forward and just make the best of it.
Yeah, you two are amazing, honestly. And I'm truly blessed to have met you, because you really affected my faith. Really. You've affected my faith in such a great way, because I know that when you shared what you went through with the pain that you had first gone through with the separation after your leaving, the religious order, Kathleen, and how you felt about the church. Because, and I don't always discuss this on my show, but there was a time that I went through my own little trial, and I'm so glad that I'm here, and here to celebrate faith on Journeys in Faith, because I truly, I never knew that I'd even get to this point. And I'm so grateful to God every day that God has given me this opportunity and that we can share together. So who would have guessed that when you and I, when the three of us met, and even you, when you met Angelo, my husband, that we'd be here on this evening talking about our faith.
Yeah, I
So
know.
how beautiful is that?
I want to do something right now.
It really is.
Kathleen and I want to apologize for anyone
okay.
that's been abused by anyone in the church, lay, religious,
Thank you.
anyone who's out there that is listening in. If anyone's mistreated you or treated you in a way that is not proper to Christ, please, we ask forgiveness for them. And, you know,
because no one
we're
deserves
sorry.
to be
You don't even
abused.
deserve
Thank you. Thank you to me, because I know that I had shared some things with you. I mean, I'm fine now, thank God, but my eyes opened up at one point in my life to what you just said. And so grateful that I'm hanging on to my faith, because you know, there's good religious and there's good priests out there. Unfortunately, there's some who've gone astray and who don't know the meaning of what it means to follow Christ, you know, and that's what it comes down to, is following Jesus Christ. And I think once they lose that, you know, once you lose that, you really lost everything, you know. So I just commend you, and I'm so grateful to both of you for that. So thank you for saying that, Shawn and Kathleen. It means so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. It means so much. Would you have any words of advice for those who do feel right now? There's some people who are watching right now that maybe it's because of this pandemic, maybe it's because of what's going on in the world, or even with some of this political stuff that we see on social media, which can be crazy too. If you had any words of advice for those watching or listening on how to stay true to your faith when you're going through tough times.
I don't know, you can about that. Yeah, because
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember when I was going through the toughest time, I felt like I was saying I couldn't even make it through the day. Like I just thought, God, help me make it through this next second, actually, and then it would be next minute, and then it'd be the day, and I mean, I honestly really don't know how I made it through. It's nothing that I did. Here I am, but it just shows that God does all things. And, you know, God is the God of the impossible. You know, I was meditating a few weeks ago, and the image of the walking on water, I know Peter walking on water, came to mind. And, you know, when he stepped out, you know, on the water, he saw Jesus walking, Jesus said, come out to me. And he thought, okay, leap in faith, and he did it. But then all the wind, which would be for me, all the worries of the world, all the confusion, the news, the media, the scandals, all these crazy things came. He took his eyes off of Jesus. And then he started to sink in the water. And then immediately Jesus helped him get back up. That would be my greatest thing, is to think, you know, God is the God of the impossible. And he asks sometimes what we feel is impossible, but to God nothing is. So if he asks it of us, he's going to give us the grace. And our faith is so beautiful. It is that pearl of great price, you know, and having had almost the risk of losing it, but knowing that nothing, like Peter said, Lord, to where would we go? He says, will you leave me too? Lord, where would we go? Like you are it, you know? And the world has all that storm. We feel like we're sinking in the water when God asks us to walk on it. But he's going to give us the grace. And then when we start to fall, he pulls us up. And I have the image. I used to think of this with, there was a little child. There was a mom and a dad walking down the street, and a little child in between them. And the mom had one hand and the dad had the other. And the little child was moving his feet, but the mom and dad were carrying him down the street. But he was moving his feet as if he was walking. And I look at that as like Jesus and Mary. We're moving our feet and we're moving along. But Jesus and Mary are really the ones that are kind of carrying us and walking along with us, you know. So when we feel like we can't do it, we can't. You know? And God does it for us. He just needs a fiat, the fiat ministry. He just needs us. And when I left the order, I thought, you know what? I thought, my God, am I getting divorced from Jesus? I mean, there were so many major things that went through. A lot of things with my confessor, and a lot of things, you know, on retreats. And, you know, you're not leaving Jesus, and you're just saying yes to the next step and next to the, so he asked me into the order, and then in the end, everything fell apart. So you just keep following Jesus. He's going to lead you sometimes in crazy ways. But as long as you say yes, like Mary said yes, she's just like, oh my, like, I'm going to be the mother of God. I mean, imagine that. How is that going to be, And the same thing, I'm going to do what? Like I said, I'm just a PT from New Jersey, And he said, Rome and Turkey and Serbia and all these crazy places around the world. You're learning languages and stuff. And then you get out, and then you get married, and then all these things. And you just, next step. We don't know what our next step even is, but we're just like, all right, Jesus, fiat, whatever your will is, we trust that you're going to give us the grace to do it. And, it's just basically because we don't know how it's going to happen. So we just the leap of faith, But he's always more generous than we ever can be. I'd say that he's never outdone in generosity, So we say that we teach marriage prep too. And,
oh my goodness, yes.
So we tell it to the
That's so great.
Like with the wine and the water changed to wine. He doesn't just give you a little bit, like exactly to get through the wedding. He gives you grace in abundance. He's the God of abundance,
It's such a blessing to have you guys on the show. And thanks for saying what you said about fiat, because it's so true. That's our yes. And that's what this network right here, Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry too, is all about, is saying yes to Jesus. That's what we say, yes to Jesus Christ. And you did that. So although that you went on this journey that you really didn't know what was going to happen in both of your lives, God had greater plans. Now, so we talked about the Catholic Beads and More. We talked about your work with, after miscarriage and abortion, people who have experienced abortions with Rachel's Vineyard. And we talked about also the fact that you're doing the ministry for those who are newly married. Was it the
it's pre-Cana.
For the pre-Cana program. Now, is there anything else that before we end the show, was there any other part of your ministry that you wanted to tell people about?
Catholic Beads and More. There's always more.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yes.
We're hoping to develop some faith coaching and some other aspects into either Catholic Beads and More or other types of things. So, but we're in this time of discernment, and it's hard for I have a lot of dreams, based on my background and everything. So basically, if there's anyone out there that's listening, one of my big dreams is to put together an integrated wellness program or nonprofit at some point in the future that helps people to grow mind, body, and soul together. So nutrition counseling, health coaching, those types of things integrated with the faith and all the practices of the faith to help people just be able to grow in an integrated life. But we're not near that right now. But in the short term, we're thinking about basically doing some faith coaching. And right now I'm getting a certificate in life coaching, which will, hopefully I'll be finished in December, and that'll be also part of that. We want to possibly help people with discernment and vocational issues.
Right, we would love to do that.
Since Kathleen,
right.
I mean,
both
of our stories, especially since what she went through.
Right, I'd love to help people with that. With discernment,
like, these are red flags.
Right.
I mean, she could, make, she's been through so much when she was his sister.
Good orders out there too. I met a lot of them.
Wonderful orders.
As I was discerning my way, which ended up being out, but I met a lot of wonderful sisters too. So that's why I didn't lose faith in religious life too. So Shawn's got all that with the coaching things, and then writing the book. And then I've done a little bit of speaking engagements too, just to some different women's groups and prayer groups. So, that's an option if anybody would ever like, to talk about whatever,
no, that's awesome.
We do a little bit of speaking engagements, and we bring our items to the prayer groups or the women's groups or things too. So
we're kind of in everything, and I'm just finishing up my master's in pastoral studies, which I'll be finished in a couple. Well, actually, this week, and just waiting.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome!
Yeah, so super
congratulations!
Thank you
to both of you. Now, I'd love to ask people to pray for both of you too, because you're just doing incredible work, and you're truly good people.
Thank you.
And you're friends of mine too, so that's a real blessing to be able to have friends come on your show and be here with us. And also, I think I don't know if God kind of just tapped me on the shoulder, but I also think that you both can do some online events too. I don't know if that's something you consider, but maybe if there's churches or organizations that might want to do some kind of an online event. I see you guys doing something like that with this pandemic.
Yeah, there's a
Something
lot
to
of
think about.
yeah, thank
Great
you.
idea.
We're learning more about technology, all the Zoom things.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
Yeah, we're learning as we go.
So that means then God will probably use it if one of our weeks.
Yeah, it'd be great. And I definitely invite you to come back on Journeys in Faith and the Sowing Hope podcast. I'm sure my co-host and I, Bill Snyder, would love to have you come back. So
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'd love to come back.
So now we are going to be ending, but I want to invite people that when this show is over, now not right away, not right after the show, but you will be able to go to a website called patreon.com/Patchwork Heart Ministry, where you can go and watch a video called 5 Minutes of Faith, because there will be an edition with Kathleen and Shawn Tobin, where they will talk about 3 ways to grow in your prayer life. So be sure to go to patreon.com/Patchwork Heart Ministry a little bit later after the show and check out that video and learn more about this beautiful and wonderful series called Discover Your Mission. So again, Kathleen and Shawn, thank you so much for joining me. And I also thank our viewers and our listeners. And we'll see you again next Friday night here on Journeys in Faith on Fiat Ministry Network. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. God bless you.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.